The parable of the lost coin. Imagine a woman who has 10 silver coins. If she loses one of them, doesn't she light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And then she has found it. She calls together her friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice me, for I have found the coin that I have lost." Just so, I tell you, there is joy in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents.
That parable, that short story that Jesus told, that Andrew just read, is in a trio of parables. Sometimes these are called the stories of lost things, or in the New Anabaptist Community Bible, it's occasions for celebration. The first one is often called the lost sheep or the good shepherd. The shepherd loses the sheep, finds it, throws a party, invites friends and neighbors, and that parable has inspired all kinds of art and songs and poetry and theater productions. It's a common metaphor that we use to describe our relationship with God. In a traditional interpretation, God is the good shepherd, right? We've heard that before. And we're like the sheep that go astray. The third parable is commonly called the prodigal son. And again, this has inspired a lot of art, a lot of music, a lot of sermons. And in this one, there's a son who collects an early inheritance, goes and squanders it with reckless living, and then when he returns home destitute, his father welcomes him with open arms, throws a party, and invites all of their friends and neighbors. The traditional interpretation of this one, of course, casts the father as God, who welcomes us, the prodigals, home with open arms. The middle parable, the one that Andrew just read, today's story, doesn't get as much airtime. Hasn't inspired quite as much art over the years. It's not often seen on a stained glass window in a church. It's often only preached alongside one of the other parables. But as I've lived with this middle parable, I think we're uniquely found in it. It starts with a woman. And this woman has 10 coins. 10 coins is not a fortune, but it's also not nothing. And this woman seems to have agency over these 10 coins. They are hers to do as she pleases in her house. I have often heard preachers, commentators, devotional writers talk about women not being able to own property or have agency in Jesus' Jewish culture. But here in this story, as well as in other ancient Jewish texts, that doesn't seem quite accurate. It seems like maybe some of these commentators, preachers, writers have been getting first century Judaism mixed up with 1950s America. Right? We read with our cultural lens. This woman has rights, she has financial stability, she has agency, she has strength. And no one in Jesus' audience seems to bat an eyelash. What's remarkable is that it's unremarkable. She's not a remarkable woman. And then, in keeping with that traditional interpretation, that casts God as the good shepherd and as the father, Who's the God metaphor in this story? The woman. She is every bit as much a metaphor for God as he. In this parable, we have a strong woman of agency cast in this God metaphor character. Whatever body you are in, you are made in the image of God. Whatever gender, whatever abilities, whatever age, whatever shape, whatever your skin color, whatever all of this is, whatever you inhabit, when you look in the mirror, you see a God image reflected back at you. You are made in the image of God. We are made in the image of God. In the image of God, we are found. The strong woman of agency discovers that she has lost a coin. Now, if you have 10 of something, say you have 10 toothpicks, and they're scattered, not organized, but scattered in front of you, will you look at that scattering of toothpicks and immediately go, oh, only 9 there? Anyone? Very few of us would, right? 1 out of 10 is inconsequential. A silver coin, in the context of 10 silver coins, is not much. And yet, the woman lights a lamp and turns the house upside down to find that silver coin. And when she does, she throws a party. Jesus says, well, of course this woman does this. Kind of in the context of the other parables, who wouldn't do that? Well, most of us probably wouldn't, to be frank. Unless if it was, Eliana, what was it called? Bunny baby. Right? We're not going to just look for the coin. But this woman does. And I think that's the interesting part. It's not of much value. It's inconsequential, and yet she turns the house upside down and turns on all the lights to look for that coin. We tend to judge our value based on our usefulness, what we can do, what we can get accomplished, what's our output, what's our efficiency, our ability to get things done, right? We are commodified. We commodify ourselves. Others commodify us. We feel like we are worth something when we get a lot done. And when our usefulness is taken away from us by so many factors, or when it's suspended for a little while, this is part of the life cycle. We all encounter this dwindling of accomplishments or usefulness. When that happens, we often experience crisis. But as this story gently reminds us, our value is not based on our usefulness. Like that coin, we are inconsequential, each of us. God does not actually need us to save the world. God already did that and is doing that. And yet, God will turn the house upside down and throw on all the lights to find us because we are of infinite value to God. Not because of what we can do, but because of who we are. Created by God in the image of God. Whatever you can or cannot do, you are of infinite value to God. Whatever your output, whatever your accomplishments, whatever your abilities, whatever you can get done in a day, whatever your intellectual capacity, whatever your talent, whatever your athletic abilities, whatever your level of efficiency, God does not see you as a commodity. You are not lost to God. We are not lost to God. In all of our insignificance, we are found. And when that strong woman of agency finds that inconsequential coin, what does she do? We've covered this. What does she do? Throws a party. And who does she invite? Everybody. Yeah, friends and relatives. Okay, this part is interesting. If I'm speaking in Spanish and I say mis amigos, who am I referring to? My friends. What gender are my friends? Male. Are they all male? Do they have to be? Nope. Because plural masculine in Spanish is an inclusive plural. Okay? What if I say mis amigas with an A? They're all feminine, right? These are all women friends. Well, it works the same way in Greek. And guess what? In the first parable and the third parable, they are masculine plural nouns. Same nouns, masculine plural. In the middle one, they are feminine plural. Women are specifically invited to God's party. I had a good cry when I figured that one out. I have often been made to feel like I, in my feminine body, should feel really grateful that in this day and age I have a place at the table. Like maybe sometimes I should downplay my feminine aspects so I can keep that place at the table. I'm not alone. So many of you have felt this. And yeah, the culture I live in has come a long way and has not always invited me, people like me, to the table. But all of us have always been invited to God's party. This invitation to God's table is not new. Sometimes that gate has been barred, but that's not God's fault. That is not God's doing. Straight from Jesus' invitation over 2,000 years ago, that invitation has always been there. We are all collectively and specifically invited to God's party. Whatever isolates you, God calls you to the family celebration. Whether you are isolated by your gender, your physical health, your age, your mental health, your language, your family makeup, shame, the world's injustice. If you feel hunted, betrayed, left out, looked down upon, if you just simply feel different, you are invited to the party. You have a place at God's table. We all have a place at God's table. Out of our isolation, we are found. God reveals God's self in this parable to be a tenacious searcher. God will find us and bring us home. That's what God does. God will turn her house upside down to seek and find us. God will turn this world upside down to find you. And that's not because God needs us. That's not because of how useful we are. That's not because we are a commodity, but because our very being is precious to God. In the image of God, we are found. In our insignificance, we are found. Out of our isolation, we are found.